you'd like to contact the show, send us an email at liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com or get involved in the conversation on social media. Join the Pearl Jam Podcast community group on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at liveonfourlegspod.
I'm going to guzzle the rest of this one and toast to you, Detroit. Thank you so much for coming out in these kind of numbers, this kind of energy. And, Cleveland's where they put the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but if you think about all the music that came out of Detroit, perhaps it should be here. And still coming. And away we go.
You're listening to Live on Four Legs, the definitive live Pearl Jam podcast, featuring
Mr. Stone Gossard. Fucking Cameron in the drum. Mr. Boom Gasper. You can call me Al, you can call me Ed, you just fucking call me, why don't you?
Hey everybody now, welcome to Live on Four Legs, a definitive live Pearl Jam podcast. More chronology series stuff. We continue to move on in the mid-2000s to this big, massive tour year of 2006. And 2006, we get a brand new album. It's not titled anything, it's just self-titled, but everybody affectionately knows it as Avocado because of the nice little fruit that's planted in the front of the album cover. And this is a pretty massive time for Pearl Jam because it feels like they're back in the public eye just a little bit. It feels like they're making music that a lot of pundits say is back to basics. A lot of reviews that you read from this time is saying this is their best record in 10 years. A lot of people were really down on Binaural and Riot Act, and they saw this as back to basics rock and roll. And for a lot of it, yeah, it definitely is. Pearl Jam at this point is looking to find ways to take the studio songs and utilize them live in a big arena setting. And that's what their purpose of writing songs for the album is turning into. How can we make them feel big live? Let's try to drive that. Let's use big guitars. Let's use big heavy tones. And that's what makes an impact. And as we've seen from this whole entire tour in 2006, they play tons from this record. It's not like Gigaton that was 2-3 songs a night and kind of left to the dust a little bit. They were playing like 7 or 8 Avocado songs very, very commonly. So the show we're going to get into today is a show from their May run. It is the Auburn Hills or Detroit show that happens kind of in the middle of this. We have that well-known Grand Rapids show that happens, I think, 2 or 3 days before this one, and they're just kind of in the area of the Midwest, and they're about to really take a stride. I really feel like when they go to the West Coast and go to like San Francisco and San Diego, they go tour with Petty, there's going to be a lot of memorable stuff on the horizon for them, and this is just them getting going and figuring out a lot of what they have with the new stuff, and it's sounding really, really good. So that'll be a lot of our conversation. But we are going to start this show with a different kind of conversation, and it'll be something that happened to us today. Randy Sobel over here, Javier Hervas over there.
Needless to say, I think this is probably the episode that I'm most excited about. If you don't know my obsession with '06, you don't know me, basically.
What happened to
But
your obsession with 2009?
no, we're not gonna talk about that.
We'll
And
find
actually,
that out in 3 weeks.
I'm gonna call in sick. There won't be any recordings. But yeah, this is a run that I love. Like you were saying about like the heaviness, like the richness, the creaminess of the tone. Everything for me was just in this time, in this era, like the power, precision, the tone, the everything. I think it was one of the tours that it needs to be analyzed and overanalyzed. And it's a really good introduction point if you're not very familiar with the band live too. Like this definitely gonna get you going.
Absolutely. And we are going to talk a lot about 2006 in just a second, but I want to bring something that I'm really, really happy about up because I feel like we haven't talked about this a whole lot, but we have mentioned it. We are doing a little road trip this summer with our Live on Four Legs crew, the guys that have been with us, touring with us, and driving around with us for the last couple of years. We're all getting together this summer to go and visit a bunch of ballparks in the Midwest, like Chicago and Milwaukee and St. Louis and a couple other places. And last week, we find out that none other than Jack White is coming to Chicago when we are on this little trip. So all of us, our eyes widen and we're like, oh, we're making this happen. And today there were 2 Chicago shows. There was one on a Thursday. There was one Friday at a place called the Salt Shed, which someday I would really, really like to get to. But we're going to go to this Thursday show at a place called Radius that is less than 5,000 people seeing Jack White at this very small venue. I am so excited. We were able to get tickets. I was able to snag 4 of them. Joey was able to snag 4 of them. And we are seeing Jack White. I think out of all the concerts I'm seeing this summer, there's a lot of them so far. I think I got 6 booked. Uh, Easily, Jack White is the one I'm looking forward to the most. And we're getting to the point now where you're starting to think about summer concerts and you're starting to realize Pearl Jam's not announcing things, so you got to move forward on other stuff. I know Ohana's kind of late to announce. Maybe they're on time, but I'm not paying attention to what they're doing right now. I just want to schedule other things myself, but like, from Dave Matthews to Primus to Wilco to Mumford and Sons and Head and Heart, and I know I'm missing one other band. I know there's like at least one other band I'm seeing this summer, but I think Jack White is going to be the cream of the crop. I cannot wait to go see him, and I know that you're really excited too.
Yeah, I've never seen him live. So when you guys were talking about this, I'm like, well, that will be that'll be quite the thing. And I'm excited to see everyone too. Like you said, the band is not touring right now. We don't know about plans for the rest of the year. Most likely we won't hear anything till 27. We know that they got a new drummer though. If you don't know who the new drummer is, you can hear the interview a couple episodes ago.
Well,
Um
actually, I think Skip might be on the road trip with us, so we can definitively say that Pearl Jam's not going to be playing while we're there.
or maybe he already got fired, who knows.
Oh, he definitely
But
did.
but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's exciting. It's one of the artists that I feel that like if you love live music, you got to see him at least once. And as a guitar geek, I'm super excited to see him play live because he's one of those very influential musicians that everybody should consider. So I'm very excited too. I'm glad that everything is working out in the way that it should.
I've seen one performance of Jack White live, and it wasn't the White Stripes. It wasn't a solo show of his. It happened to be the Rack on Tours opening up for Bob Dylan about 20 years ago. And I came out of that saying, Jack White is really, really fucking good at what he does. And how I've waited 20 years to not see him during this time, I don't know. But I'm really pumped. I also want to share with you guys that if you are in either Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Louis, or Minnesota in late July, then hey, come and meet up with us at one of the parks. We would love to have you along. If that's something that you want to do, just let us know. And we're probably booked up and full in the car, but we would definitely love to meet up with you if you're local to any of those spots. So, but you know what? Never know. Just send us a line, and if you want our itinerary, we'll be glad to send it to you. So, things to get excited to is the summer is straight ahead, but summer of 2006, this was an interesting year for me because this was my return to my excitement for Pearl Jam had returned in 2006. And I've told personal stories about it before. I won't really linger on it, but I feel like the world was really figuring out who Pearl Jam was again. And it was their revival almost. I think every good band goes through their experimental phase, their dips, their highs, their lows. I don't know why they're on my mind, but like U2 is kind of a band that around the same time was having a big revival with the Vertigo stuff. And it benefited them because I think a lot of people were like still looking for that rock and roll sound and still like kind of wanting to attach to the 90s, but wanting something new as well. And they came out and did all of this publicity for 2006. It was the first time that they had done Saturday Night Live in 12 years. They not only did David Letterman, but they did an intimate show inside the studio for like 300 fans that was very, very popular and I believe was streamed. And I think everybody just kind of knew what was going on with them for the first time in a long time. 2006 is a sneaky great album year if you look at it. I'm not a huge Red Hot Chili Peppers fan, but that's a Stadium Arcadium year, and that's a phenomenal record. I'll always hold that pretty high standard. I believe that's In Your Honor from the Foo Fighters, if I'm not mistaken, no 06, right?
Yes, you're right. Yep.
That's a great record, and that's the double record with the acoustic side. So rock and roll was going through a little revival in 2006 a little bit. These bands that were still kind of hanging on to some popularity were shooting back up again, and it was pretty fun to see. I was in college and really enjoying these bands. Those three bands that I mentioned were probably my three favorite bands at that time. So it was great, and I think that a lot of the Pearl Jam fan base had grown older to the point where they could find time to go to multiple shows and follow them on tour. So that was more and more becoming the norm. And with that, Pearl Jam being in this stage of the game where they can play 30 plus songs a night, they still have an opener at this point, but they're playing for 2.5 hours, 33 songs. This is a special time. And not only that, but it's becoming one of those things where every night is going to be completely different and you also don't know what you're going to expect. Leash comes back, Rats comes back, you go to the Gorge, Dirty Frank comes back, and it's all fan service stuff. 2003 was fan service stuff, and 2006, I think, turns up the notch just a little higher to get more of that excitement and energy in with their shows. And on stage, sonically, that's your bag. That's stuff that you can talk about. But one of the best sounding tours that's out there, in my 2 cents here. This was a very long tour. This was like 79 shows, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And that's including like a VH1 Storytellers, which goes along with the promotion and stuff like that, the marketing of this band. But lots of stuff going on at this time. Very exciting time to be a Pearl Jam fan.
I'm glad that you mentioned something about the band wanted to be accessible again, because I think one of the things that people were missing in the binaural time and Riot Act is they were not doing a lot of press. And I think it has some sort of connection with like in the way that the media was working around that time too. And I think they noticed that there was an important step. It's not about just quitting who you are as a band. It's just like you want to make your fandom included. I never thought that I was going to enjoy so much of the VH1 that they did, like the storytellers, where they take the time and just share with the audience like the meanings of the songs. And it was a great thing. Like you were also saying, it's a long run. All the shows have something very unique. Sonically is an outstanding time for the band. I think it's the epitome of like what Pearl Jam should sound live always and always forever and for the rest of the times. And every single night you will find outstanding versions, and also you will find a lot of experimental stuff that maybe we're not used to hear around that time, but which it makes it very exciting for us too, because when you go back in time and you review this kind of show, you're always going to be surprised about a few things that you thought that maybe they were not at the back of the mind, but then you're like, oh, I kind of forgot how good this was, or I kind of forgot how this was so odd, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we mentioned, there's so many different stories to tell about 2006. One of the reasons why we're doing Detroit is because this was a long-standing request from one of our patrons and friends, longtime listener Eddie Quintana, and he's a young Pearl Jam fan. And I say young because he's younger than the average Pearl Jam fan. And to me, his reason why he wanted to pick this show is fascinating because he wanted to own every song on a bootleg. He wanted to collect all of the live songs to study them and see how they all sounded. And this was one of the shows where he was like, there was a lot of songs that I didn't have. Like it was this and one of the Chicago shows from '06, and that's what drew him to this. And it's just so interesting how people decide this is what I want to hang my hat on. This is the show that I want to buy a bootleg for. It could be any reason, but I love when you can grow that kind of fondness and attachment for something because you're almost chasing things in a way. It's cool. It's a fun aspect. I wish I would have went through my bootleg collecting like that as well. But yeah, 2006. We've done a lot of great 2006 shows. We're not going to be done with 2006 after the chronology series is over. There's going to be a lot more later this year because it is the 20th anniversary. We like to hit on the milestones as much as we can. And I think a lot of the fans of DVDs will be pretty happy with what we do later on, maybe by the end of the summer kind of deal, once this whole series is all over. So 2006, you love it, you know it, and now we're going to get to a show from it. So preset here, My Morning Jacket is the opener for them during this run in May, and Ed's coming out for the preset. He's going to play Gone. This is pretty much very similar to the way that he did it in that Atlantic City show where he debuted it for the first time and wrote it in the hotel room. But Gone had the album version and had already been transformed to being a full band song. But yet I think that Eddie's acoustic version still has a place in all this, even though this is not what you're going to hear every night when they do decide to bring it to the table. What do you think about that?
Agreed. In my opinion, one of the biggest strengths that an artist can have is when you're able to strip down a song into the basics, but still not losing the meaning or the feel of the song. And I think it is one of those artists that he can really do that. Both versions are good, but when you have an artist that is just practically like I don't want to use the word naked, but I can't think of anything else. Like with an acoustic guitar, and that's it. That's like the feel that you get. You create this sense of intimacy, and also Ed has this ability that not every single artist has, but he's able to just to get the same spirit, regardless of the version that he's going to be playing. And I think the song just translates. Whenever version that you play and the song translates and it gives the meaning, I think it's kind of like you get your A plus for performance and interpretation.
That's a really good way to put it. Absolutely. Both versions definitely do have their place. I do love when the full band version does build up and get emotional, and I love Cameron's backing vocals. I think that's something that unfortunately, with the intimacy that you get from the acoustic version, you do miss because it just adds that extra layer to the song. But yeah, I mean, both definitely serve a purpose here and definitely have a place. And Gone is one of those songs that has unfortunately been its namesake for a very, very long time. And we would like to have that changed in the not so distant future. Maybe get Gone to come back.
Maybe
Comeback has played
Japan
a lot.
tonight. Maybe Japan.
Yes. Maybe Japan. Yes. The Japan tour is upcoming. We will talk about that in a little while. So hang on to that. But we are going to run through the set list right now. And after My Morning Jacket comes on, the opener for this show in Detroit is Long Road.
And I wish for so long, can I stay? All the precious moments, can I stay? It's not like wings have fallen, I cannot stay. But without you, something's missing, can I say? Holding hands of daughters and sons, and their faces are falling down.
Ed's voice in this is just so angelic, pristine, like from the heavens. I think when we get into talking about Long Road, it has been developed as a song with all these different identities. One that can kind of be a little bit solemn, one that can kind of be aggressive emotional, one that can be triumphant. And it's all dependent on what mood they want to set the tone for the night. This is a really good example of a song that you can utilize it in all of those forms just mentioned to say, okay, if this is going to be more of a quiet, reserved song, then this is what you can expect in this set. And for a version of like this, I wouldn't even say it's like quiet and reserved. I just think it's like almost spirited. I don't want to
like
say,
heartfelt.
yeah, it is heartfelt. It's impassioned for sure. It feels like his voice is just so delicate that when it hits the ground, it's gonna shatter, kind of deal. It is that light, airy, and just heavenly. It was a wonderful way to kick off.
My point here is towards the band too. This is something that only that feel of me playing with the same guys for so long. It's the only way that you can get this. What I mean with this is, to Randy's point, Ed's voice is so unique in this performance, in this version of Long Road, but the ability of the band to know how to translate that and not to overstep is everything. Because sometimes, like, the voice may not have the impact, but the band also knows how to absorb that and translate that to perfection. And you can be a super high-skilled musician, but if you don't have that feel and that room space with the same guys for 20 plus years, you're never going to get that.
The band's connection in 2006 is maybe the best that it's been in such a very long time. I mean, they'd already connected on 3 albums with Matt Cameron to this point, and they were just rolling with him, and this is one of his best years. So, yeah, they really could do no wrong when it came to the way that they reacted off of one another. I think we'll see it in a couple of different songs once we get deeper into the set. So we're locked in here. It's Corduroy, Worldwide Suicide, and Severed Hand. That's going to get us started in the beginning, and then we'll get to a couple after that. But I love how Corduroy gains a lot of steam at the end, and that transition into the solo where Ed says, "Hello, Detroit. Let's see you go." 2006, notorious for the red hot starts, and this is no different here. I think a lot of people, and the story goes, I believe it was Chicago, that they weren't crazy about some of the new songs being interpreted so early in the set, and that was something that Pearl Jam did maybe a little too often for people's liking, that it was like, okay, here's Worldwide Suicide, here's Life Wasted and Severed Hand and Marker, because they wanted Last Exit, they wanted Hail Hail, and they wanted those songs because those are the old standards. But this is what this time period is, and mixing everything in, I think, really, really works out. Worldwide Suicide is hitting with this crowd really well. This is the single from this record, and the band plays it every single night, so they are on lockdown with it. Severed Hand is awesome as well, and probably, for my money, the best Avocado song from 2006. I think it even gets better after this year, which is crazy enough, but it's one of their best efforts. So regardless of what a crowd might have thought, that might have turned into what Grand Rapids became, with the band shifting 10 club seats, so new people and new faces got to be up front and see the show and react to the new songs the way they wanted to see them react to them. I still think everything worked out really well for this era.
Agreed. I don't know if you know this, but do you know the story about the Worldwide Suicide video and how it was filmed?
Not really, because I feel like the music videos after the 90s, after Jeremy, I stopped. Well, maybe after Evolution, I should say. I stopped paying attention to the content of them, and I know there was a Life Wasted music video, and I know there was a Worldwide Suicide music video, but I did not pay a lot of attention to them. But go ahead, share.
Yeah, it's not that like it's something like super unique or something like that. I think the story is very unique. So when the band was touring in South America in '05, actually they noticed this street artist that like he was balancing stuff, and the band was captivated by that. I think that was the first night that they just arrived to the country. They were going to do sound check, and they saw the same guy. So then a band representative asked him like, hey, we'll pay you for your hours, we'll pay you for your fees, would you mind to be recorded? So then they basically got him into the stadium. I think it was like the same night that they were playing for the first time, and he got his performance recorded. And then that's the analogy that it was used about somebody just playing with the power, and he was moving the ball up and down, and that's the analogy for the video. So it's a street performing artist that they found in Santiago in Chile in '05, actually.
Wow. Okay. That's really interesting. I honestly don't even remember that from the video. I remember the Life Wasted video a little bit, because it reminded me of Futurama, because like the heads were in water. You remember that from Futurama?
It gives me the creeps. Life Wasted video gives me the creeps. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of like a scary movie. Yeah, it's a little creepy, and the art is kind of like,
It's a Jeff video. That's all I'll say, is I think that Jeff probably had some hand in how it looked.
Yeah, it's too advanced art for us, like filthy humans, compared to Jeff. But what I was gonna say too is, out of this section, like you're right, some fans, they didn't like the fact that there were so many new songs included. But yeah, and also Severed Hand having the sampler intro makes it a special. It's a song that it aged extremely, extremely well, and it gets better every single time, like meaning wise, performance wise. So if you guys are part of the haters that they're like, yeah, we don't want to hear new songs in the first batch, sorry guys, not a cool thing.
You're not going to see a lot of these songs much anymore, that's for sure. But just quick on your point about the Severed Hand intro, they dump that, and then they turn it into sort of this kind of atmospheric sound that's played as like this plucky little rhythm on Ed's guitar. And I will say, maybe it's because from day one of me seeing them, that's the version they did. I always preferred that. I didn't love I don't know, it felt like they were like press play on a CD and let it go kind of deal.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody from the crew in the back, they were like, making hand signals and like, all right, the iPod is good to go. Play.
Yeah, that's kind of the feel of it. And I think maybe the reason why they got rid of that was they didn't like that feel. So the next couple songs here, Animal and Marker in the Sand. I think you had a couple of takes on this. Marker in the Sand is just so underappreciated for how incredible it is. It's one of the songs that feels like it had a lot more meaning to me much later in my Pearl Jam fandom than it did when the album came out. I certainly liked the song when the album came out, but then I forgot about it for so long. But I think like the last 4 years or so, I've just been like, whoa, Marker and Sand might be my favorite song off Avocado now. And it's kind of incredible that I was personally underrating it like that. But what do you got on this to kind of build off that point?
I have to say that when the album was released, it was immediately my favorite track. There was something about the melody that really captivated me. And then I noticed when they were playing it live, me being a guitar geek, it's like, oh, they're using capos and weird tunings and the combination of all the elements. I think it makes a very unique Pearl Jam song in a formula that is not used very often. For good and for bad, this was also when I noticed that Ed was really pushing himself vocally in a different direction. I know that for some fans, this is kind of like the breakthrough year where like, oh, his voice has started to wear and tear a little bit. But I have so much respect for the fact that he was just like, I want to push myself towards a different direction. And the band was so open to it because they could have write the song in just regular tuning and could have maybe the same impact, but they push it to a direction that their vocalist wanted to go, that it was something new.
So after Animal and Marker in the Sand, we say, good evening, how you been, Detroit? A toast is in order. It's harder than hell to find a job in this city, but you got a pretty good basketball team here. Yay for consolation prizes with the basketball team. I believe the whole thing was that the Pistons and the Cavaliers were facing in one of the conference finals or something, and they were in Cleveland the night before, and they were like, "Oh, Cavs, Cavs, go Cavs, go Cavs," and then they come here. It's like, "Yeah, Pistons." And they completely like shift loyalties on the dime. So he says,
They're a fan
"Well,
of the sports. They're a fan of the sport.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Ed shouldn't be a Pistons fan since he's a Bulls guy. Bulls
Right.
and Pistons do not mix, but hey, look, different era, I suppose, and there's no Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars, so you can kind of, I guess, jump on the Chauncey Billups bandwagon. That doesn't look good 20 years later, but anyway, he says, we'll take advantage of it tonight, but it's going to get a lot quieter here with another flag up there. I believe they did lose to the Spurs in the finals that year, but 2004 was a good year for Detroit and the Pistons. Not the last time Detroit's had a championship because the Red Wings did win, but it has been a while for Detroit. So Tigers might be good. We'll see what happens with that, and then you never know what's going to go on with the Lions. So in Hiding and Even Flow is the combination here. Great choices so far in this set. I feel like In Hiding has kind of been hidden in this chronology series. No pun intended. But we're happy to have it here. It's not the highlight of the section, though, because Even Flow in 2006 is just a complete stunner. But nice to get In Hiding in the set. And once we dig into it for another show down the chronology line, we'll definitely put the microscope on it a little bit more. But even flow has to be talked about. So, how incredible was this era to this song? And before you answer that, I have to address that this version, there is no drum solo during it. But I think the reason is because you have to play off of feel. And it just felt like in the moment that Mike was so dominant during this that you couldn't really one-up him. You kind of had to let it sit there a little bit and then build back. What do you think?
That's such a good question. That's such a good argument. This version feels though that Matt is going for the solo, but like maybe he noticed that there was something that was not right. Just to continue to go for it. Key aspects of this song and around this era, gosh, there's so many. One of my favorite things is Matt's backing vocals. He was very heavily utilized around this time for that, and I love when you hear this voice like in the back, just like very, very subtle, but it works so well. I think talking about Mike solos is kind of redundant around this time for this podcast, but
Gee, if you were to pick anything that made Pearl Jam, I mean, it's not a bad thing to have redundancy on.
True. But for me, the focal point around this time, too, is how innovative Stone was, too, especially in the solo part. Because before, sometimes he would just get stuck in the same rhythm or just playing with the same figure. But like around 06 and 05, he was really trying to make the song go in a different direction and try to feed up Mike, kind of like feeding the beast, like, hey, I'm giving you this, like, let's see what you can give me back. For me, those are the key elements of why the song was so successful. I know that some fans are going to be like, whoa, it was too long, we don't need a 10-minute or a 9-minute even flow version. I mean, give me a 12-minute if the drum solo is included, if you ask me.
Flow's supposed to be a 10-minute song at this point because you need it. Like, that's the showstopper. After you get to a certain era, you know that Mike needs a moment to shine, and he has a couple already in this set. You know, Animal has a big solo, and Severed Hand has a big solo, Corduroy has a big solo, but the spotlight's going to be on Mike during Even Flow. That's where it matters, and you have to commit to it. You have to go off. So it's redundant talking about Mike, but it's always going to be the story. It's like when, you know, you're talking about a football team that has a really good quarterback. I'll give an example, the Buffalo Bills. He is the team, Josh Allen. And the rest of the team, they have really good players. They have great players. But when you talk about how that team runs, it's through Josh Allen. I think for Even Flow, it's just always going to be through McCready, even though everybody, like you said, Stone has his amazing parts. Cameron, when he solos, this is McCready's moment, and definitely takes advantage of it in 2006 more often than not. All right, the next three songs here, a fantastic version by a mine, Army Reserve that we never get to talk about, and a really good Insignificance version as well. There's a little intro that I really like that happens before I Am Mine. That's really interesting on this. kind of subtle, but it's enough for you to think in the crowd, like, I don't know what this band is doing at this point. I don't have any idea what this could be leading to. And then once you get into the riff, you're completely shocked of what just came. There's no indication that I Am Mine's going to be the song. Like, after a while, the Immortality intro obviously became famous, but like, you can kind of tell that Immortality is about to come, because it just has the vibe. But this, I like the little throw wrench in it, and you're not sure what's going to happen, and all of a sudden it's I Am Mine. And then I Am Mine happens, and it's phenomenal. And I think the piece of the song that really hit really well with me is when Ed is singing over the outro. He's doing some harmonization over the outro, and it sounds fantastic on it.
I was happily surprised when I was listening to the intro, because that's one of the things you're like, as a fan, you get like a little kid, like, oh, like, I don't think I've ever heard this, but it's one of those things you're like, whenever you go back in time and you listen to it, it's just like, I just like it so much. Although, Army Reserve, Army Reserve, Army Reserve, like, it's such a good song. Like, why they don't play it more often is it's not one of those songs that is gonna like punch you into God right away. It needs a little time to cook, but once that song elevates, once that song is just like in cruise control over the end, it just blows me away. It's just like it's such a good song. I don't know why they don't play it too often.
I think it just has a tough time staying relevant with the audience. I think one of the reviews that I was reading from like Spin or something like that about this record in the research for this was that somewhere in the middle of the record, late record, it gets boring to people. And I think when they're suggesting that, they probably think of the little bit that's Army Reserve and Wasted Reprise area. Like, I can see how people think that. I have grown to really like the song a lot more than I used to. I always think of like a lot of movement. Like, I was in the back seat of a car when I was listening to this version, and I was just kind of looking out the window and, hearing that little riff kind of go and and like seeing things in motion.
Such a good riff, too. Such a good riff.
Great. Yeah, great. It's a sneaky good driving song, and it doesn't have like a lot of moments that fans are gonna be clamoring for. It's nice to hear. It has its place, but I think the only reason why they would play it nowadays is if it were specifically a request for something or a story that connected with it. And this was something I believe, like, Damian Nichols of the West Memphis 3, I believe, right?
Yes. Yep, that is correct. Yep.
Yeah, I think he helped write the lyrics for the song, so it's got a place, but it doesn't fit when it comes to like the big celebratory moments from this record. It's not one of those.
I can totally see your point. My opinion is biased because I always just think that the riff is so good. Thank you for mentioning Damian Nichols again, because I completely forgot his involvement with the band around that point. And actually it was more Ed involved in the West Memphis 3 case. Actually, you can see it in the last episode of the documentary Paradise Lost. You can see it with Johnny Depp like being heavily involved over that cost. Randy, question for you. If you would have to edit the Avocado record, which song would you take out of the record, out of that middle section?
Probably that or Parachutes. It's nothing against those songs, but my point for the record would be like, let's find a way to get to Inside Job a little quicker, because the record's like 53 minutes or so, and it does drag a little bit to get to that point. That's my only like real criticism of that record. I just want people that aren't going to be following Pearl Jam because of that record, people that are wanting to listen to music, I want them to stick around for how good that song is. So cutting one of those is probably the direction I'd take.
I would have changed Gone to right before Inside Job. I think that would have created a little bit better momentum towards the end.
Yeah, it's really tough to have Comeback and Inside Job back to back because it gives off similar vibes. But
Yeah, you need something kind of like different in between.
I would maybe Comeback would have worked out kind of well if you put it, I don't know, after like Marker in the Sand, like
Or
switch
yeah,
Comeback, take out
or as an
Parachutes.
album closer, or as an
Yeah,
album closer too.
that could have worked. Yeah. An Inside Job be like sort of after Big Wave. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's tough to create albums, guys. It is very, very tough to create albums. And that's why we don't do
indeed
it.
it is.
Well, it's tough to create albums. It's even tougher to create content sometimes. And however, I think this was an easier way to create what you're about to hear for whatever we end up talking about. So the section here is going to be Garden into the Reprise and Life of Wasted and State of Love and Trust. But we are going to spend the time on Garden, and really, we're not going to spend a lot of time on Garden at all. So this is Sound Garden. The 2006 version of Garden always has that big, elaborate dum 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 intro. It loses the solo. It kind of has mix match pieces all over the place, and it's sort of scrambled a little bit. I think I made the reference when we were talking beforehand that it's kind of like a ransom note where you take letters from all different cuts of magazine headlines and to make a note. Like, that's kind of what this version of Garden feels like. And really what this made me think is that, what if Pearl Jam songs were kind of like human beings? This would be Garden's teenage growing pain years. They'd want to change their identity a little bit, kind of break out of their parents' grasp. They're going to go through I hate my parents phase and wear black eyeliner or something like that and try to be different. And Garden would eventually turn into something so mature and so celebrated and become a human being that would be successful and have a lot of friends and maybe have a good job somewhere, that's how I see Garden. Like, I think maybe even its early years, like in the 10 era, it has a little ADHD or something like that. I don't know. But I think it needs a lot of time to mature and become a true human being. I see myself in it a little bit, to be honest with you. But that made me think, what about other songs? How are songs humanized in that way? And I think it on the terms of like how their growth and evolution, since we've been talking about it so much with the Chronology series, how live it all developed and changed to how they were going to be. Like, here's a good example. Blood. Blood is peaked in high school. In 1996, it was a senior, and they were prom king and on the football team and really popular and really good. And then
Dating the cheerleader.
dating cheerleaders, yeah. Then, the cheerleader goes off to college, and then they kind of flunk out of college, and
Got
they
into a
come
drug
back every
addiction.
now and again. And they're like, hey, remember me? Remember what I did in high school? Well, I can't really do it anymore, but I'm still cool, right? It's like, then some people are like, yeah, man, you're still really cool. You're still the coolest. And others are like, ooh, uh, no, I've moved on from this. And, no offense to Blood. That's not like saying it's basically the Fenway version. That's,
I was gonna say, like, I feel for Boston right now because I think that's where we're going with with this.
yeah, that's essentially it. Immortality was one I came up with. It's the genius hiding in their mother's basement writing code that's going to change the world with little recognition for who they are. It's just like this song that nobody knows how amazing it is and how transformative it is and how important to the history of this band it is. Like, and I'm thinking about people outside of this band. That's why I say hiding in the mother's basement, because it's creating all this stuff kind of underground where you don't see it, and yet when it's utilized, you see how incredible it is. What do you think about that?
Now that you're talking about that, it reminds me of this the movie where he finds the code to beat the Nazis. You know what I'm talking about? It was
No,
actually no,
but a friend of
but
mine
anyways,
told me recently that Pinocchio beat Nazis, so that was strange. That was a
okay.
Guillermo del Toro movie, so
Well, he's a very strange, but also very clever and ingenious in what he does. But I can see mortality be like that genius in the basement writing code for something very unique and special. Present tense and the way that it was described, by the way, like some of the comments that some community members were writing about songs that were insanely good. Present tense actually reminds me of the friends that I've met here in this community, like having amazing travel and life experiences, and then like family refers them as uncles, you know?
yeah, it's an acquaintance that like maybe is friends with your other friends, and then somehow you guys get stuck on a boat together, and you've lived through something, and you've like learned who each other are, and all of a sudden kids calling them uncle or godfather or something like that. Yeah, there were some good ones. I think Mike threw out something about Alive being like, a troubled teen. And I threw in that 2000 would be it going to rehab and sobering up. And then he mentions that it would become sort of like a motivational speaker and an inspiration to people. And I think that works really well. There was a bunch I came up with. Jeremy was kind of like the kid that had a specific talent or was really smart in school and had parents that pushed them way too far. And I get that that's kind of relating off of the lyrics a little bit, but very early on, I think the parent thing kind of relates to the 90s, where very early on everyone's like, yes, do the thing. You're so good, you're so smart. And then it kind of going through this crisis period at a point where it's like, I don't want that to be me. I don't want that to be my identity. I kind of want to run away from home. And that's what No Jeremy is. But then
Mhm.
it gets away from its parents. It doesn't have a good relationship with its parents anymore, but it's created a new life for itself. And it's got married, it's got kids, and it's still really smart, but it needed a lot of work to get over all of the pressure that it was put upon it very early age. I'm going to leave it there because I think that's enough. I think that maybe a lot of people listening to this are probably like, what the fuck are you talking about? And if you are, then I want you to tell us. But if you're not, then try this exercise and see if you can come up with a personality for a song based off of how through the years they've dealt with. I'll give you one more. I'll give you one more. Album songs, stuff that is like, I don't know, Supersonic from Backspacer and Swallowed Whole from Lightning Bolt. Those songs, those are coworkers who come in and out of your life. Like, you work with them for a certain period of time, and you get along with them at work, and maybe for a coworker's birthday or anniversary or something, you go and have a drink at happy hour. But then after a while, they all get new jobs and move away, and sometimes you see them post on Facebook. And that's like when now they play something like Amongst the Waves. That's them being like, oh, I see you now, or bumping into them at the grocery store or something like that.
Yeah, I
I
can
like
relate
that
with
one.
that analogy for sure. Yeah.
I'll leave it there. That is essentially what I took out of Garden on the little road trip that I was doing this past weekend, and it consumed a lot of this set list. So, all right, let's move forward. Sorry, Life Wasted in the reprise and State of Love and Trust, but we're going to move to the end of the main set with Comeback, Jeremy, and Rearview Mirror. Ed says right before Comeback that this one is for Chris Chelios. Detroit and Chris Chelios, I think, makes a whole lot of sense to give him a reference there, and obviously the friendship we all know about. But there is one moment at one of the Wrigley shows in 2018 where I think Ed said that this song is about a hockey player before going into Comeback. He said something along the lines of, well, all the songs are written about hockey players. I seem to remember that. I hope that it was that version, because this version actually was dedicated to donut legend Stan Mikita. You know Stan Mikita, right?
I wanna say yes.
You don't know him as a hockey player. You know him from Wayne's World, Stan
Ah,
Mikita's
okay.
Donuts.
Now I remember. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, at the Wrigley version in 18, they play it for Stan Mikita, who passed away shortly before that. So maybe it's not like a full connection there, but I think he does mention Chelios at that version. So it is interesting. But at the time, it's obviously relating to Johnny Ramone. I think that, again, he's writing more songs on this record. Life Wasted was kind of about how he felt at his funeral. And this is the fifth performance of the song here, with this show being very early on in the tour. It's a very tough thing for an emotional song to capture its essence and purpose so early like this. And it's pretty clear that they have it pretty well done at this point. This early on in the tour, you're not playing it a whole lot. You do want to focus and feature it, and you need to really get this song right in order for it to channel all the right things. And I think they did a really nice job with it. I think they had it down pat.
One of the biggest hits for me in within the same song is just like especially the last part where like everything comes together, Mike solo, the delay, the echo, everything around the same time. I don't think this version has that, but clearly they have something going on with this. I'm still very much confused about the Chelios connection. He has mentioned it a few times. I don't know where it stands with that. It might be something that is one of his favorite songs. Who knows? But yeah, it's still confusing to me till this day. But good version, not there for me, especially with the emotional part because I don't know. I feel that it needs to be even more emotional than what already is for this one. I don't know. I feel that it's lacking emotion a little bit.
That's a little bit of 2006 in a way, because again, you want to focus on the songs from the record and you want to put them all out there. But once a more modern era, the last 10 years or so, when they play it, it's always dedicated to somebody or something that happened. And that's where you really tap in. But I think this is a preparation for all that will happen there. Jeremy has tons of crowd interaction. Ed has some strong screams towards the end, but I think we need to dip right into Rearview Mirror, which is definitely a highlight from this show. Talk about 10-minute versions of songs. Well, this one is it. Mike's Rhodosphere on the solo. Yeah, gets me every time. I love that sound. It's just everything blending together. The mix of that, the EBO, the insane drumming, Stone effortlessly arpeggiating notes driven into the atmosphere. They really take this to a lot of different directions. What did you see from this one?
Microtosphere is an effect that I miss so much. Yeah, he has something similar nowadays, but it's just not the same texture that the good old Rotosphere used to have, and it's just so punchy and it gets so spacey, and I love when it gets like that, especially when they allow it just to play with the EBO a little bit more too, and just have fun with that. And the other thing that a lot of people tend to forget is how important is man in the back just giving them direction and not to make a whole mess, and just marking what each phase of the song must end. Like, okay, this is when I'm going to wrap it up. This is where we're going to get intense. This is where Jeff needs to go in. It's outstanding. It's such a silent work that he does in the back that I think he needs to be recognized. Because every single time that I listen to this kind of crap, makes me feel emotional because he's gone, and it fucking sucks. But, yeah.
Or Hobby. You're just gonna have to live with Skip Peterton and move on to Queensryche cover bands.
I'm not ready for that yet. Not ready.
I love the bit in this where Ed kind of sings improv off the top of his head. I think we all kind of know the I will forgive, but I won't forget improv that he does maybe like starting this year or a couple years later, but he says, I don't want to hurt no more. I don't want to cry no more. I will forgive. There's a lot of stuff packaged into this 10-minute version. It's all fantastic stuff. All right, we're at the encore, so let's pause for station identification. Now, we have some Japan shows going on at the time being, so that's what we are going to focus on Patreon this week and the next week, as Ed is doing 4 solo shows. We have some friends out there. Our friend Alex is out there. You've probably heard his proper British voice before, and he will be giving you a rundown of all the atmospheric stuff in Japan and the people he meets and what the fans are like. And I've already heard from him a little bit. He's given me a little bit of the lay of the land, and it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what Ed brings to the table, and it won't just be Alex too. We have a couple of friends out there. I think our friend Nadine is going to share something for us too. So just keep that in mind. Keep those things in mind, and we're gonna go back to the reaction episode series for 4 episodes. It'll be fun while it lasts. It won't be a long time. It'll be a good time. So that stuff will all be on Patreon in the next coming weeks. So if you want to join to get the reaction to the Eddie shows, then it is patreon.com/live on 4 legs, or go to the Patreon app, search for Live on 4 legs, or go to liveon4legs.com and join up there as well. And for like the 19th week in a row, I'm telling Javi that he needs to work on that Hard to Imagine Gear Garage episode.
It is
Tick tock, tick tock.
it is in the works right now. But if you see Alex around, please say hello. Alex is such a wonderful friend. We have so many adventures in Chicago, Nashville, London. So I'm very, very excited to hear his take about these shows because I don't know about you, Randy, but I feel that we may have a few surprises on those sets. I feel
We'll
that,
see.
yeah,
I don't know what's in Ned's mind right here, but look, I think there's some freedom of going to Japan and talking about some political stuff that maybe he was a little bit held back on doing when he was here in the States the last tour. So I want to see Ed get angry if he can. I know it's a solo show and it's usually, happy go lucky, ukulele and all that stuff, but yeah, let's see a little bit of angry Ed.
and you know what's like? I want Ed to be angry. I want him to be vocal, but the thing that I'm waiting the most after that is the tweet that we're gonna get out of that. And
Yeah.
that's everything that I'm looking for. Everything.
Oh, the Tweed. Yep, it's old man Ed. That's that's what you get. A lot of people have like bashed him and his hats, and they've said, "Oh, I don't like Ed's hats," and like, man, just let him do him. He's given you enough over the years to love. Just let him have whatever hats he wants. Not something I'm gonna go crazy about. All right, back to the Rock. This Cheers Detroit. This is the first bottle of wine right here. But let me ask you a question. You've been asked it before. Please give us an honest answer. How you feeling? That gets a big response. He says sometimes when you play a bigger place, you're just not quite sure. And that will lead into this section. It's man of the hour, but then it's small town and nothing man. And those are the two I want to highlight right here, even though man of the hour is very, very good. We do have a story. So before Small Town,
Stone Gossett is claiming to know the next song. He says he knows how to play it.
How pleased am I with myself, too?
I'm finding his overconfidence to be problematic at this time.
so here's the story. After they play Small Town, Ed kind of tells the crowd, he's like, well, this is happening in Grand Rapids. So they open with Small Town in Grand Rapids. And Stone messes up. But in the newspaper, they write that he forgets the words. So he's taking the heat for something that happened to Stone. So this time, Ed says, we played it perfectly. I fucked up the guitar a little bit. It's all relative. Somehow, all of you are here when we at times can be a real shit band. You're all here. That means you have faith in us, and we thank you. And then, before getting into the harder stuff that's about to come, we're getting into Nothing Man. It's for the first time being played on the tour. And guess what happens?
How's your faith right now?
First of all, I don't know if this is on purpose, Stone fucking with everybody or not. This very well could be.
I
Very
think it's
well
on
could
purpose.
be. He has that kind of sense of humor where he would be that cheeky to do it. But you get into the intro and his guitar cuts out. It has to be him. It just stops. How about that for your moment right there? Ed says, "How's your faith right now?" And everybody gives Stone big chance. There's not video for it, but I can imagine everybody smiling and just laughing off each other and playing off each other. That's something, if you're at this show in Detroit, you never forget it. It just will make you smile because of course the story that's built into it, and then the finish is just perfect. Whether or not Stone scripted it a little bit doesn't even matter. It's just so much fun to see them just rag on each other like this. And 2006 is a good era for them to really break out of a comfort zone when it comes to talking to this crowd, and things like this start to happen more often.
I'm gonna go back to the points that I stated a few minutes ago. You can't do that if you don't have that feel with those guys playing in the same room for 20 plus years. Like that is something that kind of confidence is gonna give you. And I'm just glad that they don't take it very seriously once in a while because like you were saying, Randy, those are the things that you remember. Like sometimes I have really great memories about like somebody fucking up an intro or they just grab the wrong instrument or the wrong tuning. Like you really remember those things. It makes it a very unique portion of that experience that you have at that show. Like you always remember that.
Yeah. Sometimes you just make magic when it's completely unintentional. That's the moral of this story. And honestly, more live bands should be able to have fun with that. That's why people go back to Pearl Jam so often, because they can laugh at themselves. So, to finish out this encore one, which has gone by in about 2 seconds flat, Inside Job and Alive. Now, I was listening and taking notes for this while I was panicking about getting a text message saying 30 minutes till the Jack White pre-sale. I'm like, the fuck this come from? We didn't get any notification that it was gonna be on a Monday or anything like that. I just signed up for the text and it's like pre-sale happening in a half hour. I'm like, fuck, okay. I can't pay attention to this right now. So I didn't really take down any notes or anything like that. So I'm relying on you to share about what happened on Inside Job and Alive. I think the point you had on Inside Job was the double neck guitar, right?
Yeah. That was something that it was included in this time for this tour, for this record. Even though the record version is more like an acoustic with a 12 string kind of like intertwined in the final mix. But I love that the band really was going in a different direction, trying to use an instrument that they were not well known for. Well, nowadays I know that now they're using again a 6 string guitar, and that's okay. I still feel that you don't have that special flavor the original instrument will give you with like this kind of intro around this time. This is a song that I always felt that is extremely powerful, like it's done with the phaser in the back, making all the arpeggios and the arrangements is very soulful. It's like every note is telling a story. You can tell that there's a lot of thoughts and intention in the way that the instruments are being played. For, as you fans know, for the meaning that the song has for Mike, he has been very vocal about what he inspired him just to write something like this, and he's so proud about this effort, as it should be. It's an outstanding song, and it just caps it out. Like it's a really good closer for like this first encore. Once you get that, I don't want to say somber moment, but once you get that introspection, you get a little bit of the party with Alive, which, like Randy was saying, is kind of like that teenager that had a couple of issues at some point of his teenage life, and it got into rehab and all that kind of stuff. But then you get to celebrate. And then you get that one-on-one with the band that is gonna make sure that they're gonna like share a cycle with you. And also, I don't think we have said enough about the crowd, but the crowd was very, very, very powerful on the show. And in a live, you can tell it. Like you can really hear the interaction and the way that they're singing, and the way they're supporting the guitar parts and all that stuff. So it's a pretty good end up for like that first encore.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head mentioning the humanistic personality of Alive, because a couple days later is when they would film the VH1 Storytellers and tell that story about Alive being the curse that's broken. And that's a huge part of how the human goes from being a broken human to, rising above challenges and becoming the man or the woman that is meant for bigger things. And that's exactly what it's turned into at this point. I can't disagree with you here, and the crowd, just like you were saying, is really, really, really good on this. And once we get into the encore too, the crowd will be a highlight, maybe not for how good they are, but for how much of a sweat they're putting on here. So here it is, encore 2. I don't do this very often, but I have to at this point. I'm packaging 5 songs together because I have no choice. They're all played in a blaze of heat. Whipping, Evolution, Comatose, Giving a Fly, Why Go? Just all within like 15 to 20 minutes of burner time. He says, "You're a hardworking town. We're going to get down to fucking business." And they sure as hell did. So, not for the weak of heart here. Fast ones meant to get you moving, meant to get you sweating. Not a lot of time to breathe. And I was pretty blown away by it. It was pretty fantastic to witness. And I think when 2006 storylines need to be told, it's how incredible the Encore 2s were becoming. And Encore 2, I always feel like it kind of, I don't know if it gets shafted in later years because it's just sort of, obviously we haven't seen an Encore 2 in a long time, but Encore 2 is just kind of preparing for the end instead of like making it a big thing. And this Encore 2, I would have left this show saying, whoa, they really turned it up at the end and gave us something good. It's the Encore 2s are usually like, let's do Better Man, let's do Crazy Mary, then Alive, Rockin' Yellow, a lot better. But this was a completely different strategy, and I'm here for it. Go back to this. I know we're not going to get a lot of Encore 2s, but Encore 1, go back to this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just give me those 5 and I'm good to go home. Just like I could be fun with those 5. 2 things for me out of this section. J Feynman's bass. Like he's like killer in each one of these songs. And you drummers out there, just hear all the fills, the filthy fills that Matt fucking Cameron does in the intro for Why Go. Freaking outstanding. Like he has like 10 seconds on his own. Like everything he does in that little portion is just like pure bliss.
Yeah, I love Jeff on Comatose. I think it just balances the song out so well. The tours mixed really, really well, and Comatose is just sounding like it's on fire here. And Given a Fly, I think a little bit picking up on last week's conversation, definitely continues to ramp up and get faster and faster. I think we'll see it more. And we'll get into that conversation more as the weeks go on, because Given Fly is being played almost every single night. And once you really turn into Backspacer time, it's just going to be all about speed and not about melody anymore. So hang on to that thought. Ed says there's a sign saying they haven't played a song here since 1984. Okay. Well, they don't believe it. It says, fuck it, we'll play it anyway just in case. And they start doing the slow, riffy version of Porch. And Ed does correct himself saying, oh, did I say 84 or 94? It's all about the facts here. I did check for accuracy. I went through all of the Detroit and the Michigan shows, and it is 100% correct. They had not played Porch there since the Masonic Temple show in 1994. They didn't play it in 98 when they went back. They did not play it in 2000. They didn't play it in Clarkston. So this was the first time. And hey, outside of the 84, you nailed it. This is one of those super short versions of Porch, though. It's kind of clear at this point they're trying to fit as many songs in the set. They're trying to get everything to the end. Like the solo doesn't have like a whole lot of meat on the bone here. It's just kind of like, all right, let's rev up, and now it's time to transition. But the transition is pretty phenomenal. There's an intensity going from solo to outro. Dominant burst from Cameron that quickly made me forget that. Oh, there's no solo section? Well, doesn't matter anymore. It's a Cameron section, so I'm locked in.
Cameron driving what they needed to get done. You guys can't see it, but I was kind of like making the gesture that probably they had like the manager like pointing at his clock, saying like, hey, we gotta hurry up. And you know what? It's such a cool effort from a band that they're gonna try to give you 2 encores, and they're gonna try to snug as many songs as they can. I always gonna have so much respect for that. Now for Indifference, my favorite part about Indifference is how much it allows the audience to take over. I know that we haven't talked about the audience a lot, but this is something that he started to be a little bit more comfortable in '05 and '06 with getting that interaction with the crowd, just to be a little bit more present and just like, okay, you guys are going to take it over. Very common point too around this time is like the last part on Even Flow. He will say like, all right, you guys take it, and like there's so many songs that we can utilize that as an example. But here, the audience is loud, the audience is passionate, and they know that the end is near. So I think that they're like really embracing that portion of complicity with the band that they have left.
And that's really 6 songs where it's just like completely blaze a trail. I know I said it was 5, but Porch is only broken out of that because of the whole sign saying that they hadn't played it. But they do need a little bit of a breather afterwards to just sort of register and sing along a little bit with Indifference and then come back. Indifference, once again, is a very similar storyline to last week where it's not in the closing role, but it's giving the crowd an opportunity to have a big moment before you go and yet getting something a little extra, because I don't think anybody would have batted an eye if the show ended with Porch into Indifference. I think that would have made sense. But the fact that they didn't, the fact that Indifference does sound terrific here, and then Ed starts talking afterwards, I think probably might have been a shock to a lot of people. So we still got some time. Is it time? I will say that. Ed says he'll guzzle the rest of his wine and toast to Detroit. Now, Cleveland might be where they put the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but you think with all the music that they put out in Detroit, it really should be here. Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I get Cleveland's history a little bit, but Detroit's really a rock and roll city. And yeah, I
Indeed.
know Ohio, Michigan, it butts heads all the time, but Detroit feels right. It just does. And look, we talked about Jack White. Jack White's a Detroit guy. So it made sense that we mentioned the story about Jack White from before and go into a show, because that's for all you Detroiters out there. So they said they're having a band meeting and they are playing a song specifically for Detroit because it is time. Oh, so good. It was very early in their playing it, and there's not a lot of versions where they don't play it with Mark Arm. So I guess this is a rarity to an extent, but I mean, it's definitely the best song to pay tribute to Detroit music, to pay tribute to the scene. And there are a lot of great choices. I think Search and Destroy is absolutely one B to this. If they did Search and Destroy, that would be fantastic as well. Anything White Stripes, anything Jack White, don't put it past them to do Motown. It's not out of the realm of possibility that they give you Temptations or something like that, but I think for the crowd, it's fun that they pay a little tribute to them with this. And they were doing it a lot at the time. They'd go to certain places and they'd throw the locals a bone a little bit, like, I don't know, going to Ireland and playing Thin Lizzy, playing Boys Are Back in Town, you know? Like, not going to get that again. I mean, Kick Out the Jams was a little bit, well, I shouldn't even say a little bit, a lot more common than that, but throw the locals a bone and get them juiced up before saying goodbye.
And kick-ass version of Kick Out the Jams, pun intended. I was in awe when I was listening to it. And then just to wrap it up, like, as a very common thing that Ed will say around this time too, Mike is going to say goodbye in his own way. He doesn't talk too much, but he's going to close the show tonight with Yellow Ledbetter. Interesting thing about Yellow Ledbetter around this time, very, 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 very common also that Mike was playing the national anthem at the end, as Jimi Hendrix used to do. Beautiful solo, so articulated, so much melody within the solo too. And again, you guys know I'm a sucker for '06. So there's very, very close to zero negative things that I have to say about this run. So we'll see. We'll see what we have after this.
Yeah, along with the banner there, I don't want to call it national. I'm going to call it the banner. Because why not? I think it's fun to call it the banner. Around this time period, the war is still going on, and Ed will use some of the lyrics to sing about "we just don't want no war over here" or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but it's in that context. Like 2003, you specifically heard him say, "Don't know whether my brother's coming home in a box or a bag." He's still continuing that trend, and hell, if he wanted to do that when he's performing in Japan this week, I think that is pretty appropriate. So that is the end of this wonderful show in Detroit from 2006. And it is not the end of our coverage of 2006 for sure, because there's a lot more that we need to talk about when we are done with this chronology series. So, with that being said, let's pick some of our favorite moments from this night.
Okay. My number one is pretty solid, I think. Hopefully we're different because I like when you have a different perspective. I'm going to start with my number 3 is going to be In Hiding. I really like this version of In Hiding in the show. Number 2 is going to be RVM. Love Ed's Ebo, and when you can really hear it. Not where you can only see like the right arm going up and down, like pretending like he's doing something. And my number 1 is going to be Kick Out the Jams. Outstanding version of the song.
I thought you were going to have Army Reserve in your 3 for sure, just because you spoke so highly of it. But I do have a shared moment, but I think it's because when you have a 10-minute version of Rearview Mirror, it's really hard to say no. So I'm not going to say no to that. I'm going number 3 is going to be Long Road. I just love when Ed sounds like an angel, and it was pristine from the heavens above. So I'm going to go that way for number 3. I will also have Rearview Mirror at number 2. And my number 1 from this show is going to be I Am Mine. It's not even just that intro, but it's the passion that Ed just blurts out when it comes to the ending here. I thought was just truly tremendous and should be thought about more often when doing these versions. And there used to be a conversation here about having the ending of I Am Mine expanded a little bit, and I'm still on top of that and still would love to hear it someday. But, you know, anything to relate this to the passion that the song brings and the story, I'm all for it. So yeah, I feel like Ed was feeling it in that moment. All right, rating time. What do you have for this Motown, Motor City show.
I'm gonna try to separate my bias out of all this because all these shows to me are just good. Like they're like each one of them is so special for X, Y, and Z reasons. But we have the showstoppers, we have the emotional moments, but there's still something lacking. I don't know how to explain it, but again, I want to be super objective in the way that I'm rating this. And coming from me, man, I mean, you're not gonna get anything lower than a 9 for this run. That's where I'm at for today. Like I'm in a solid 9. It's a good show.
Well, I am kind of on the same page as you. I think the bar is set really, really high for 2006 in terms of, I mean, the girth of shows, how many exist out there, but also the quality of shows, how high those quality of shows are. But I think obviously it follows up on Grand Rapids, which gets a lot of praise, a lot of due praise for sure, and sort
San
of
Diego.
loses. Well, yeah, San Diego happening a month later, San Francisco happening a month later. There's tons of great stuff in 2006 to talk about. And I think what sets those shows apart from this show is that they are barn burners all the way through. And this
Mhm.
show is good and it's great, but I don't think it got to be a barn burner until like a little bit in Encore 2. I thought the main set was fine and good and energy packed, but I don't think it like transfixed in the way that maybe 2006 normally does. So I'm going to go ahead and give this an 8.5. I did enjoy it. I was a little bit distracted during this one. I'm not going to lie about it because of Jack White, because of doing some research for this in a car doesn't help. So, not the best experience of taking notes on it, but I still enjoyed it and I would recommend it to anybody that wants to listen to a 2006 show and just enjoy one. I think that there are others out there that feel more grand and spectacular, but this one's very, very solid. So, from a big tour in 2006 to a not so big tour in 2007. 2007 was a very slow year for Pearl Jam. They did not do a lot of US dates except for Lollapalooza, Vic Theater, and that is it. They're just the Chicago stuff, but those are pretty memorable. The Vic Theater show is extremely memorable for a lot of different reasons. We'll talk a lot about that next week. That's an episode that we did back when we were in single digit episodes almost. This is a long time ago. So unfortunately, we're not jumping back into that. But what we are going to do is we're going to go back to our video series and make it a video episode since 2007 is not something that's like highly talked about within the community as much. They ran through Europe a little bit and did a bunch of festivals out there. So we wanted to look on YouTube to see what shows were available, what sets looked really interesting. So the one that we're going to land on is Munich, Germany, that has the full show available on YouTube, and we will do the YouTube thing next week and see how that goes. The first couple worked out really, really well, and I expect this one to work really well as well. So hang tight on that. Look forward to it. Again, 2007, it might be interesting to people because there's a lot of stories that we're going to have to uncover here that just don't get passed around a whole lot. I think this is another year like 2004 where I don't think they released these bootlegs. So it's kind of a dig to get them, but maybe it'll be a nice little new experience for people. So Munich, Germany, it's all going to be on YouTube. We will release it to the podcast platforms, but just letting you know now, we're going to make fun of you if you decide to listen to it audio wise and not video wise. Because come on, every now and again, you got to look at us. That's the name of the game here. But before we get to that, we're going to thank you all for tuning into this one and whatever stories we have about, songs and humanizing songs and everything. This was a bit of a wacky episode when it came to stories and content and things like that. So hopefully we didn't detract you from future episodes, because it did get a little wild. But sometimes you got to push the edge a little bit in order to keep things fresh. So if you thought we did that and you want to continue consuming the podcast a little bit further, then all you got to do is make sure you hit the subscribe button on any platform that you want to see us on. YouTube, definitely, because of next week, make sure you are subscribed on there so you know when our episode's about to pop up and you can watch us do our thing over there. But also, head on over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you do get your podcast to subscribe, comment, rate, whatever you need to do. Everything helps at this point to push us across the edge, and just letting the people know what you get out of this podcast, letting the Pearl Jam fans know that they can get some memories reacquainted with. It's always a good thing. So help out as much as you can. Hopefully we're helping you out by giving you the music and the stories. All right. That's it for this one. This may be the end. We're here, but not for much longer. And although we may be parting ways, miss you already. Miss you always. You. It's always you. All right. Until next week, we will see you on the pod.
See you next week.